Most people use Claude like a basic question and answering tool. They use it for research and that's about it. But they're missing out on what it can actually do once you set it up according to how your business works. For example, I have this workflow where I give Claude a prospect's LinkedIn URL and their website and it performs a full research on the prospect against a company's playbook. Now it puts a document consisting all the info about them, targeting angles, their pain points, how to position our offer, and the best way to open the conversation. So in this video, I'll show you how you can tailor Claude according to your business. We'll cover what pricing plan your business needs, the core concept you need to understand before you set anything up, how to configure it around the way your business already works, and finally, how to take your first real step with it. By the end of this video, you'll know how to tailor Claude according to your business, which feature to use and when, and you'll have everything in order to start running your first real workflow tomorrow. Before we go further, you need to understand the 3 ways you can use Claude. The first is Claude Chat. This is the one that everyone's familiar with, where you have questions and it answers. It works inside your browser or the app and it can't touch anything on your computer. The second one is Cowork. This is the Claude on your desktop with the ability to actually do things. You can open your files, work across your folders, build documents, and run tasks on your machine. Instead of asking it how to do something and then doing it yourself, you hand it the task and it gets it done. This is where most of your business workflows will live. The third is Claude Code. Despite its name, it isn't only for coding. It's the most powerful version of Claude built to handle big, complex, multi-step jobs that need real horsepower. It is the most technical of the three, but it enables you to build apps with just prompts. For most of what you'll be doing on your day-to-day work, Cowork is a home base. Now let's look at the pricing before getting into things. You can start on the free plan, but you will not have access to Claude Code and Claude Cowork on the free plan, so you will have to opt for a paid plan to get them. Within paid, there are 2 tiers, which is an individual tier and business tier. The individual tier, as the name suggests, is for solo use, where you get a pro plan and a max plan. The pro plan comes with Claude Code and Cowork and access to all 3 models. If you're getting started and want to explore what Claude can do for your business, this is where you go. Max is just pro plan with more usage. You can opt for the 5 times usage or the 20 times usage based on what you need. Now the business plan is where privacy and the infrastructure setup comes into play. The individual plans are fine for solo use, but for regulated industries and the industries where the infrastructure is important, you need to opt for the business plan. Team starts at $20 a seat annually with 5 seat minimum. You get Cowork, shared projects, central admin controls, and Claude doesn't train on your data by default. There's also a premium seat option that gives you 5x more usage for the people on your team who need it. Enterprise is a compliance layer on top of team. It comes with audit logs, custom data retention, and the infrastructure you would need in a regulated industry and enterprise scale businesses. If you're not in one, team covers most of what you would need. The first concept I want you to understand is skill. A skill is a reusable set of instructions that you provide Claude on performing a specific task. Think of it like a recipe to a dish or an SOP in your company. You write it once and Claude follows it whenever you ask it to do that specific task. So for example, you might have a skill for creating blog posts, one containing your email formats and one which contains your brand guidelines of your company. So the next time you ask Claude to generate a PPT, it will be referring the brand guideline skill and generating the PPT based on the color scheme, the typography, and the writing style that you have specified. So speaking about how skills work, a skill is just a markdown file which consists of metadata and the instruction. The metadata specifies things like the name of the skill and the description, which consists of what the skill is about and when to invoke it. And instructions are just instructions on how to perform a specific task. And the way you invoke a skill is by using a / command followed by the skill name, or Claude even detects it automatically based on what you've provided in the description here. Now at the core, a skill is just a skill.md file. But if you want to take it a step further, you can include folders like references, scripts, and assets. References, as the name suggests, are just references for the core skill.md file. So it can include files like txt files, md files, or even PDFs. And Claude refers it if it's specified in the instructions here. And scripts are executable piece of code written in Python or other similar programs, which gives Claude the ability to run a piece of code. And assets are just static assets that you can use. So taking the PPT example, you can specify Claude to attach the logo at the top of PPT in every slides. Now there are 2 ways that you can create a skill. The first way is asking Claude to create a skill. And the second way is doing the task once and converting it into a skill. Now, let me just show you how to do it in practice. So the way you create a skill is by heading over to Claude and asking it to create a skill. I know it kind of sounds weird. You need to head over to customize, skills, and you can see that there's a skill called skill creator, which is a built-in skill from Claude, which enables Claude to create a skill. Kind of works in that recursive loop. If you click the plus icon, you can see that you can browse skills. These are the skills from the marketplace that you can install. And the other one is creating a skill. There are three types. The one is uploading a skill.md file manually. And the next one is writing a skill instruction on your own. The primary way, the way I use is creating a skill with Claude. So if you click it, Claude can ask what should the skill do. The skill should be able to analyze the meeting transcript that I provide and give a brief on where did I go wrong, what I did right, and what should I focus on in the upcoming meetings. So it uses the skill creator skill to create a skill. So it asks us follow-up questions in order to have a clear idea on what the skill is about. So we'll have to answer all these questions. So I filled out the questions and you can see that they have asked, do you have a sample transcript? So the skill places the transcript in a reference folder, just like I've mentioned, and it's drafting the skill now. But I just finished with creating the skill and you can see that it has a metadata and the description which says when to call it and what the skill is about. So I just have to save the skill and it will be reflected in my Claude. So if we head over to skills, you can see that there's a skill called sales call analyzer. Do note that it is a trial and error process and you won't have a perfect skill from the get-go. You'll have to update it the more you use it. And the way to do this is either after a conversation, just say that upload the sales call analyzer skill, or you can come to the skills page and you can edit manually or edit with Claude. And the other way I create a skill in Claude is by first performing a task by myself in Claude. And once I finish the task and achieve the certain output that I want, I ask Claude to convert it into a skill. So Claude will understand what the task is about, the preferred output that I want, and it'll create it into a skill. And I feel this is the better approach if you're looking for output quality. The next concept I want you to understand is tools or connectors. So connectors are what enables Claude to read or write to third-party applications within Claude. So instead of you having to switch between tabs, you just specify Claude to do a task and it does it for you based on your behalf. Now there are two types of connectors. The first one is a built-in connectors. These are connectors which are officially supported by Claude. So Claude has reviewed it and approved it, and you can install it directly within the Claude interface. So Gmail, Slack, and Drive are examples of built-in connectors. The next type is MCPs. MCPs are just connectors without official support from Claude. So you'll have to install it from the internet manually by providing server URL. So summarizing, connectors are just MCPs that has been officially supported by Claude. Now, do note that if you are installing a MCP from the internet, make sure that you trust the author because there's a chance that the MCP can include malicious programs. So if you are on a business plan, the organization owner can assign connectors to the whole team by default or even block some connectors permanently and manage permissions across everyone. The way you connect Claude to an app is by clicking the plus icon, connectors, and add a connector. So I'll be connecting Gmail. Takes me to my browser and I'll have to approve it in my browser. So once I approve it in my browser, you can see that Gmail has been connected. And if I head over to customize and connectors, you can manage the permissions that you have set up for Gmail. So going to Gmail and see that there are certain permissions that you can set. So this one is always allow, and this is ask permission, and this is completely block. So for the read only tools like reading from Gmail and receiving specific email threads from Gmail, I have pressed always allow, but for the writing or deleting tools, I have set it up as needs approval. So you can manage permissions for any connector that you have installed. So if you are on a business plan, the organization owner can set these permissions or even completely block a certain connector from being installed in any of their users. Now, memory. Memory is what enables Claude to remember things across your conversation. It's like an assistant who knows you. So the more you interact with it, it automatically builds context on who you are, your business, and your preferences. By default, this is turned off, so you'll have to turn this on by going to the settings. Now, do note that the memory in chat is different from the memory in Cloud Cowork. In chat, the memory is shared throughout every individual chats, and the context from one chat is given to other chat as well. Whereas in Cowork, each session is separate and the context from one session is not provided to the another. To tackle this, you'll have to group every session into a project, which I'll be speaking next. The way you turn on memory is by heading over to your profile, settings, and capabilities. Now there are two toggles that you need to turn on. The first one is to search and reference chats. This enables Claude refer other chats in your Claude for the context that it requires. And the other one is to generate memory from chat history. So this is the feature that enables Claude to have the memory. So you can manage your memory as well by clicking on it, and you can update it as well. Or if you are migrating from ChatGPT or other providers, you can import the memory from there, and it'll be giving you some prompt and you need to copy it over there and pasting the output back right here. Now projects is what enables you to group related chats and co-work sessions together. Now these are like folders for your work. Now you can group chats by the same client, the same process, or the same campaign. Now do note that if you are on a business plan, that is team or an enterprise plan, you can share project with your team members, that is can share the chat projects within your team members or make them public across your organization. Whereas on Cowork, the projects are stored locally on your device and they do not support sharing them with your team, and these stay personal to you. And the way you create project in chat, you'll have to head over to projects, create a new project. You'll be giving some name to it and what you're trying to achieve. So you can provide relevant context that will be separate to this particular project. You can upload the instructions, the files that would be required. And if you want to share it with your team, you can click the button share and you can share it with your team. Since I'm on the pro plan, I'm unable to do this. The way you do this on Cowork is different. Now the way you set this up in Cowork is by heading over to projects, creating a new project. You can either start from scratch, import a project, or use an existing folder. By importing a project, they mean that you can move the chat that you have made in Cowork into a project. So I'll be creating from scratch by giving it a name, instructions, and files. This kind of acts like the reference and also the project location since it's stored in your local device. And if I click create, one thing to note is that you cannot share this project with your team since it's stored locally on your device, and you can add contexts like files and related activities from here. The next concept is plugin, and this is one of the strongest feature in Claude. And quick note that this is a cowork and code only feature, so you'll have to be on the desktop app for this one. So what are plugins? Plugins are what enables you to bundle skills, connectors, and references into a single package. So taking an example, you could create a plugin for the sales department in your team. So looking at the general structure that it should be in, can include skills like the instruction that the sales team might be needing, like the email scripts, closing guide, and call analyzer, and the references like the past meeting notes, email examples, and connectors, which are apps that the sales team would require, like a meeting note taker, CRM, and Gmail. Now, if you are on a business plan, the admin can set up a plugin for the entire marketplace. And the team can install it from the catalog. Now, the admin can also control the permissions and who can install what in the dashboard. Right now, there's no certain way you can share a plugin to other people if you are on individual plan. The only workaround for this is downloading the package in a zip file and sharing it to them, and they have to install it manually. The way you create a plugin is by going to the plugin section can either browse plugins from the Anthropic marketplace and install it. There are some few good set of skills you can install, and it has certain skills that you can use. You can also update this plugin based on how you want, simply by asking Claude to do it. The other way is by creating a plugin on your own, that is either uploading a plugin or creating a plugin with Claude. So we'll be going down the creating a plugin with Cloud route. Now it has come up with a set of follow-up questions that it needs me to fill in order to improve context. You can see on the side that it has used a skill called create cowork plugin, which is a built-in skill by Claude. So I'll be filling this out. Here you can also specify any skill that I've already in place in the skill section. You can ask it to include it in the plugin here. If you have any, continue. One thing to keep in mind is that connecting it to a tool, make sure that you've already connected it beforehand, else Claude is going to use the MCP route. It has come up with more questions. It then comes up with a progress bar on the side, which shows the tasks it needs to do in order to create the plugin, which is creating a plugin structure, drafting the relevant skills, finally packaging the plugin. It has generated an HTML which will download the plugin in its zip format. So once you download it, you can head over to the plugins tab and you can directly upload it. So once I upload it, you can see the plugin has been created. It consists of skills and the Gmail connector. You can manage the permissions from here. Now there are certain hacks or techniques that you can adopt which improve the way you use Claude. The first one is the way you prompt. For example, if you type in a vague prompt like what is the Bitcoin price, Claude might output something that is stale and not up to date. Whereas if you prompt look up the Bitcoin price, it's going to fetch the Bitcoin price from the internet and it's going to be up to date. So just a change in two words can make a lot of difference. Now there are certain prompting techniques which make the output better. The first one is few shot prompting. This is where you provide examples to the output that you desire. Like here are 3 good emails, write one in the same style. The next prompting technique is role-based technique. This is where you are telling Claude to act as a certain persona, like a sales coach, and ask it to review a sales pitch. So this enables Claude to act or think in accordance to an identity and give the output based on that identity. So the next prompting technique is asking clarifying questions. So this is where you ask Claude to ask you clarifying questions at the end of the prompt. So this builds up context on what Claude can work on, as a result improving the output. And the second technique is context engineering. So if you have a huge task to perform, you can break it down into simple tasks instead of providing it in a single prompt. So for example, if you want to create an email copy, you provide the product info first, you say who your target customer is and the goal or the offer that you have, and then Claude writes an email based on the context you have provided. If you provide it in a single prompt, the output quality would be low. The next technique is model selection. The model that you choose can play a huge role on the output that you get. There are 3 models in Claude and they dictate the output that you get. First one is Opus. This is the most expensive and the most creative model, and as a result they consume a lot of tokens. And the next one is Sonnet. This is a perfect balance between the best model and the least best model, and this is a good default that you can use. The last one is HiQ, which is the simplest and the cheapest model. It's a fast and can be used for tasks that doesn't require much creative energy. So in your day-to-day work, Sonnet does the work and is a sweet spot between the two. Certain rules to keep in mind to keep your data safe or prevent any harmful attacks. The first one is do not download anything from unknown sources, that is skill files or MCPs. Only download MCPs or skills from the parties that you trust or from Anthropic listings. The second one is to turn off training on your data. On business plans, this is turned off by default, but if you're on an individual plan, you have to go to the settings and turn it off manually, and this prevents Claude from using your data for training. The next one is don't enable Claude in Chrome. as this is the most vulnerable product that exists from Claude, as these have the highest risk of prompt injection attacks, and this enables Claude to do anything without your permission. So now that you understand what the features are and how to set each one up, the real question becomes, how do you actually pull it all together in a roadmap for setting up Claude around the way your business runs? Here the setup order that I recommend. Start by enabling memory, turn it on and let it build context from day one. Then set up your first project, group the related files for one thing you're working on, and give the projects a clear set of instructions. And you can group all the related charts that you're having into a specific folder. And you can do this for both chat and cowork. From there, start building skills. Once you have done a task and are happy with the output, convert it into a skill and connect whichever tools that the workflow needs along the way. And once you have got a solid set of skills and references in place, you bundle them into a plugin. The more you use it, the more it understands how your business works, and the more playbooks you'll have to go inside Claude. And if you're an organization, you can share this all with your team through the organizational settings. You manage what each person has access to and build a plugin for every department and load it with specific skills that the team needs. Think of it as giving each part of a business its own SOP, but within Claude. Now that's a breakdown on how to set up Claude for your business. And do note that this is a trial and error process and you won't have a perfect infrastructure at the beginning. And the more you use it, the more you play around with it and correct it, the better it gets with time. So all the resources that I mentioned in this video is in the description down below. Anyways, I hope that you got value from this video and I'll see you in the next one.